When President Eisenhower came to this place a quarter of a century ago to dedicate the cornerstone of this building, he spoke of undecorated and unsung heroes. And when I was with you here 2 years ago, I mentioned those words and noted the heroes President Eisenhower spoke about were you, the men and women of the Central Intelligence Agency. I return to the CIA today with exactly the same thought in mind. Without you, our nation's safety would be more vulnerable and our security fragile and endangered. The work you do each day is essential to the survival and to the spread of human freedom. You remain the eyes and ears of the free world. You are the tripwire over which the totalitarian rule must stumble in their quest for global domination. Though it's sometimes forgotten here in Washington, the American people know full well the importance of vital.
The CIA, or Central Intelligence Agency, is a branch of the United States intelligence community which serves as the USA's foreign intelligence and national security threat gatherers and analyzers. For example, of some work that they have done, before the 9/11 attacks, the CIA found known Al-Qaeda personnel flaunting 8 big attacks, or celebrations, that are coming to the USA. The CIA brought this information to the heads of state, and what happened?
What happened?
Yeah, what did happen? Yeah, what happened?
Essentially, nothing happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Not good. Anyway, documents of the CIA's operations have, over the years for several reasons, become publicly available online and in person if you so request. And with this basis of knowledge, this is the Declassified Operations of the CIA. When you see the words disposition matrix, what do you imagine? What do you think it is? What does your brain come to when you think of those words? The 1999 Matrix movie, perhaps? No. The movie Disposition? That probably exists? No. Think more United States, CIA, Obama government kill list. It is essentially just the USA's list of what they would consider national security threats. The concept was pushed by White House's counterterrorism advisor John Brennan to codify the targeted killing policies developed by the one and only President Drone Strike himself, Obama. So it's just legislation letting Obama drone strike people without any consequence. You may be thinking, that does not sound right. The government would never kill anybody. And you'd be right. Government agencies have never done anything immoral, especially John Brennan. John Brennan, the guy from before under George Bush's presidency, so not Obama, worked as top aide to the CIA director George Tenet. During this time, John defended the CIA's use of such things as extraordinary rendition, if you don't know what this is. It's in the name, of course, silly. It's government-funded kidnapping. Also, he defended other things that are just as commendable, like enhanced interrogation and torture. So a really moral, upstanding guy. I'm really happy this guy was put in charge of the legislation of ethically killing people. The CIA black sites are secret prisons in which the CIA locks up ghost detainees, which are prisoners who are not registered under a sovereign state and have also not been officially charged of a crime. And the CIA hates these things because they are immoral, illegal, and also against the Geneva Convention. And I'm lying. They love them. It's hard to tell the exact numbers on how many black sites the CIA has because they're inherently a secret, but it is estimated that they have at least 95 sites around the world in 28 different countries. The main reason for the operation of these sites is so the CIA can use enhanced interrogation on the prisoners. With this being the second time me saying this word, enhanced interrogation, you may be wondering what it is, because the CIA likes to use strange language to describe what they do. It's just torture, actually. In fact, as I was writing this script, the Microsoft Word suggestions kept telling me to change it to torture, just to shorten it. If you're curious with where they got this great language from, it was the Nazis. This also isn't the only Nazi material that has been appropriated. Some techniques included beating, binding in contorted stress positions, hooding, subjection to deafening noise, sleep disruption, sleep deprivation to the point of hallucination, deprivation of food, drink, and medical care for wounds, as well as waterboarding, walling, sexual humiliation, rape, sexual assault, subjection to extreme heat or extreme cold, and confinement in small coffin-like boxes. Another document I found described the CIA members putting a detainee in a room with strobe lights and showing him gay porn. We probably also don't even know everything that they do, because it's so bad that the CIA destroyed videotapes of demonstrations of enhanced interrogation techniques. Internal memos from the CIA where they spoke about the destruction of the tapes were quoted as saying that their contents were so horrific that they would be devastating to the CIA, and the heat from destroying them would be nothing compared to if the tapes ever made it into public domain. Which is scary, to say the least, and also the most blatant obstruction of justice I've ever heard in my entire life. On a lighter note, Fidel Castro was a Cuban revolutionary politician. He acted as prime minister from 1959 to 1976, and then president from 1976 to 2008. As he was a Marxist-Leninist communist, the USA was not a fan of him and wanted him out. During Castro's tenure, he had a whopping 50 attempts made on his life, which is a crazy number. And even crazier to think is that I'm lying. He had over 600 attempts made on his life, which was mostly made up of attempts made by the CIA, of course. Obviously, I don't have time to go over all 600 attempts. Nor do we know the specifics, nor do I want to. I just thought I'd go over some of the wackier plans that they cooked up in the headquarters. There was once a time they tried to use poisoned cigars to kill him, and the box, just promptly vanished for an unknown reason. The poison they used was strong enough to kill anyone who put him in their mouth, just even for a second. The poison used was named botulinum toxin, and that poison is just Botox, literally just Botox. There was also a time that the CIA paid known American gangsters to poison the dictator's food, and they just took the money and just didn't do it. They paid the boss of the Chicago crime syndicate and the boss of their Cuban operations, who were also on the FBI's most wanted list at this time. They paid them $1.2 million in today's money on multiple separate occasions for each failed hit, which, again, they just didn't do any of the times. Fidel loved his communism. He also loved scuba diving. Little known fact. And the CIA cooked up plenty of plots revolving around this to make him sleep with said fishes he was swimming with. They once aligned his scuba gear with tuberculosis so it would look like a natural disease got him and he would slowly die, like Arthur Morgan. Another swimming one was where they place an explosive shell in a spot he liked to dive often and just pretty much just hope for the best. Another plot is where they would poison him with a tiny hypodermic needle at the tip of a pen. This plan had two flaws. The person tasked with delivering the pen rightfully thought it was a stupid idea and was quoted as saying, "Surely the CIA can come up with something more sophisticated than this." And the pen was to be given to him on November 22nd, 1963. You might wonder why that's such an important date. It's not much happened other than the assassination of JFK, so they just forgot about it, just didn't do it. They had some operations that tried to tarnish his reputation rather than kill him as well. There was a time that they tried to gas a room he was addressing his people in with LSD, so he would make a fool of himself. They also tried dipping his cigars in a substance that has similar effects to PCP. And they also lined his shoes with thallium salts to, and I'm not kidding, make his beard fall out. All of these plots, much like the others, failed miserably. This is the budget that the government uses to fund black operations. Basically anything with those black bars. That's what that budget's paying for. Another definition is also not what they spend it on, but what they earn from secret and illegal means that goes back into the black budget and their pockets as well. Think of all that money that they get from all that crack. April 13th, 1953. Alan Dulles gave a speech about the dangers of communism and the so-called War of the Mind. The federal government was haunted by the fear of communism and believed it spread rapidly at this time because of the Soviets and their mastered mind control. In between two major wars, World War II and the Cold War, intelligence agencies believed that foreign agencies were able to brainwash the American public and indoctrinate them into their ideology. With the solution to fight fire with fire, the CIA created MKUltra. The project was headed by Sidney Gottlieb, but began under the order of CIA Director Alan Dulles. The project tried to produce a perfect truth drug for interrogation against suspected Soviets or North Korean spies, and also to explore the possibility of mind control. Drugs used in the experiments included LSD-25, heroin, morphine, temazepam, mescaline, psilocybin, scolopamine, and alcohol. The way they would administer these drugs is through two drips. One would have a downer, like alcohol or heroin or morphine, and the other would have an upper, like meth. So they would give them the LSD, or whatever other test drug they were trying, and then give them the downer, but before they would fall asleep, they would then give them meth, and they would promptly wake up. Before then, they would promptly die because mixing drugs is never a promising idea and can definitely kill you. Some people volunteered to do these experiments, some not so. A lot were prisoners and mental patients, and there was also this sub-project of MKUltra called Operation Midnight Climax, where an agent would pose as a prostitute in a brothel, and then once in private, they would drug the customer. And from a one-sided mirror, other agents would watch how the victim would react to certain things. Some notable people who were involved in MKUltra experiments as patients were Robert Hunter of Grateful Dead fame, whom says that his experience was creatively formative. Some alleged people who were experimented on but not confirmed are James Bulger, a mobster, Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, Jim Jones, a cult leader, and Charles Manson, a cult leader and a musician, and a good one at that. There's a time for living. That concludes my, that concludes this. Bye-bye. Think you're loving, baby, and all you're doing is crying. Can you feel? Are those feelings real? Look at your game, girl. Look at your game.
girl, what a mad delusion, living in that confusion, frustration and doubt. Can you ever live without the game? The sad, sad game. Mad game. Just to say your love's not enough.